I'm Marshall Shore, and let me welcome on Jasmine and Doc Bev.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. So, what's all going on?
It's all about you today, Marshall.
Oh, it's all
Nah.
about. Ah,
Yeah.
geez, isn't it every day?
Oh my gosh.
Well, so basically, what I do want to do is say, hey, this is brought to you through the three of us, but as well with support from Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture, as well as South Mountain Storytelling Institute that make this all happen. So we are so happy. And this is done with the Arizona LGBT plus history project that is involved with Phoenix Pride, ASU libraries, and myself as we just try to document kind of that LGBTQ Arizona Southwest experience. There's the BJ Budd Archives at ASU, and there's all kinds of things going on. In fact, coming up even on the 20th, there is a festival going on over at Southwest Center, so that should be fun. But, let's talk a little bit about some of that history. Now, when I say history, I don't just mean old stuff, because history is yesterday.
hmm
And so it is all kind of rolled in there. Now, this is the Arizona Gay News, which started in 76 as the first gay newspaper in Arizona. It then morphed into the Tucson Observer. And I've been going through them. And, it kind of struck me that every time I know Jasmine and I talk, and I think even when you, Doc Bev, and I talk, there is always this community component that always kind of keeps rearing its head. And so I thought it would be kind of fun if we just kind of focused on community. I mean, what it has been, what it is, because I think after COVID, it's changed a lot.
hmm
And so kind of that landscape. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to just kind of chat a little bit about that. I mean, it was like with the Arizona Gay News, it was like we were just chatting, and I mean, they did fun things, like they did a luau at a bar called the Connections in the 80s. There was also an ice show. I mean, they were doing all these really kind of crazy things that bars, I mean, don't really go to that length anymore. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about bar culture, community culture, because it happens outside of bars as well. So there you go.
Okay. I have a story about bar culture that I was thinking about uh, a few days ago with coming out. At first, of course, like many other parents, my mom was just like devastated. And in fact, that had something to do with me moving from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Phoenix, Arizona, was so that I could live my life free and open and it not, be all in my mom's face if she didn't, like it out of respect for her. And so I came here, and within, I don't know, a few years of being here, my mom came to visit. And we we talked about my gayness or lesbian or whatever, and I kept telling her, stop asking me so many questions, that she was really getting down to specifics that I'm like, Mom, don't ask me those questions. Stop. So while she was here, there was a bar called the Grand Camel, and I knew the owner of the bar. I frequented it quite a bit. I lived kind of like right around the corner from it. So we hung out at the Grand Camel a lot. It was at 43rd Avenue and Camelback, West Camelback, right up a little bit on 43rd Avenue. And so my mom came to visit once. And this particular time when she came to visit, I took her to the Grand Camel. She had so many questions. Just let me just take her and put her in the middle of all of this. She can see what goes on, right? Well,
Love it.
they were having a drag show that night, and the owner of the bar is this really big guy, full beard, mustache. I mean, just he put on a dress that didn't zip all the way up the back. He went on stage, he danced, he sang, he came over to my mom, brought her the drink, was singing to her. It was hilarious. It was fun, and my mom loved it. She kept coming back over and over and over again. She came for her birthday one year, and I took her to another drag show, and the queens were just all over her. She had the time of her life, and these stories, when I think about it, I think a lot of people are afraid of the gay community, the LGBTQ community, because they don't know, they don't have knowledge, they haven't seen, they haven't been around. As soon as my mom was exposed to it, it was just a whole new world for her, and she loved it, you know. But it happened through the bar scenes here in Phoenix, where she was able to go to a drag show and see that it was not threatening, and all the things that they try to say it is. So that's my story. How's that for history? It turned my mother out. Love it. I love it. So, Jasmine.
Yes.
Now, speaking about the past and my mom and how it was, because when I came out to her, I thought she wasn't going to ever speak to me again.
Mm-hmm.
Totally devastating. And we had, at the time I was living in Pittsburgh, we had bars and clubs in Pittsburgh, but very hidden. If you didn't know anybody, you didn't get in, and you were not a part of the community until you met someone.
Yeah.
And it was hard to meet someone because we couldn't be out, so you didn't know who was who.
Yeah.
So now, some years later, and of course I'm not going to say how many years later, we have another group of individuals who are growing up and coming up through a whole different type of scene. So what's it like for you now?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I went through a whole period of my life when I was a young child of hiding my interest in girls, and I still can't even pinpoint how I knew to do that or why. It was just almost like this just I was just born knowing to keep it a secret until I really knew it was gonna be safe or something. So I would sneak around with my neighbor's granddaughter, in elementary school, and um I have no idea. I just knew it in my bones of we're not supposed to tell, and I like boys, and I went through a whole, I went through a whole journey, and it's not like my parents. I mean, they were as liberal and as accepting as they could have been in the early 2000s, and I still was adopting this sense of but it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to like boys. I'm supposed to get married with a man, and um, yeah, I just always found that to be interesting. And I do actually, even though my parents were, liberal, I think that there was still some things that were normal in the early 2000s that today for kids right now would sound really weird. We still made fun of gay people, and that was still a joke. Calling somebody a lesbian or a butch was a huge insult in the schoolyard.
Mm.
And um my older sister, I have an older sister who's 8 years older than me. Um she came out when I was 15, and she had this best friend. She was my sister's best friend. We all knew her. She was part of the family, and for years they were secretly dating. And she came out saying, "This is actually my girlfriend." And I was actually, I want to say I was younger than 15. I was actually quite young, I think. And I remember my dad driving us to my sister's, who at the time she lived in LA. It was like a couple hour drive, and I have a memory of like being in the car and my dad breaking this news to me as if like my sister there, as if it was something like we should be worried about. Like, we're gonna go see your sister, and her best friend are actually in a romantic relationship, and your sister is gay. And it was like this somber conversation, and I was like expecting him to say something like she's ill, and then he said that, and I'm like, wait, oh, okay, like you had me worried for a second, but I still adopted that of like that was my dad's reaction. Even though we were this like, you know, accepting family, it wasn't like they were going out of their way. They were accepting in the sense that they weren't homophobic, is kind of like the standard they were working with at that time. But it wasn't like it was this, they were going out of their way to be like, hey, this is an option for you all. There are people out there who have all these different identities, and you're a child and you can absolutely figure out where you fit in and where you gravitate towards. But it was still like, at that time, it was like, you're a girl, you like girl things, and you are going to be with a boy, and that's like kind of the option that you have. So it, like, I've had, you know, conversations with my dad particularly about this, because you know, he was surprised to hear that I was apprehensive, that I kept it a secret for so long. I didn't come out to him until I was like 22. And he was really surprised that it was something that I even consciously kept from him. Like, not out of, I'm worried that, not out of any degree of like, I'm worried for my safety or that, you know, this will change my relationship with my dad. It was just purely like, I still haven't heard anything that's overtly like, you really understand this experience, and this is something that you would have been conscious of since your children were born. Because I still heard, you know, my sister, she came out as bisexual, and then ended up, you know, breaking up with her girlfriend, going and being single, and my dad would still make jokes about like, oh, when your sister decides to start dating men again, or oh, when your sister's done with her phase, or like he would still use language that didn't feel like he was really trying to use a different lens and unpack maybe his own like heteronormativity and really see his kids in a different way. Because, you know, it was very like macho and patriarchal of like, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that was my experience. I am really grateful that I can have conversations like this with him present day. But yeah, it definitely took a lot for me to still, even with all of the entire environment that I grew up in, it still took a lot for me to even come out to those closest to me.
Why do you think it took you so long to tell your dad?
Well, it was like, for me, it was a longer internal struggle than anything else. So it was like, I wasn't even worried about sharing it with anybody until I was like, okay with my individual experience and my own kind of forming of my identity. So I only felt compelled to come out to him once I was feeling compelled to introduce him to a female partner of mine. Okay. So it kind of just like happened on its own naturally. But before that, it just felt like it wasn't even a fully formed identity that I had, because I felt so stunted by like trying to fit into the hetero box throughout my early childhood. that I was like in college, things started to unravel. And then I was like more seriously dating women, and I was starting to, you know, be out in my social circles, but then I was still feeling like a struggle even within those of like being friends with a lot of straight people in college and high school. And so it just kind of like, it wasn't this conscious, like, I don't want my family to know. It was like, my family is ready. I'm ready to take that step now because that's where I'm at. Like, I want to introduce them to my partner.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How about you, Marsha?
Well, you know, kind of that same, it was like telling my dad, it was like I told my mom when I was 18, and telling my dad was, I waited like 3 years to tell my dad that I was gay.
Mm.
And literally small town and Midwest. And so my car was literally packed so that way, depending on my dad's reaction, I was going to hop in my car and drive off in the sunset and never be seen again. I didn't know the reaction. And so he was in the garage working on his car, and I'd be, okay, I'm going to tell him now. And I would count to 3. And then it's like, oh, he's under the car. So I finally just said, okay, you know, Dad, what would you do if I was gay? And he was like, well, why? Like, because I am. He was like, I was like, you mean all these years of angst I went through? And I mean, and like you, Jasmine, I grew up knowing, but I knew that I should hide it. And so I think that it caused a lot of just internalized hatred towards myself.
Yeah.
And
that's so real.
So, I mean, I literally told my dad as I was getting ready to go off from a master's program to become a librarian. So I'd already gone through college. And so for me, it was like telling him at that point, I had already kind of defined this identity. Mm-hmm. I mean, coming out pretty much, and then going to college, there was the campus gay group. And so went whole head into that and doing all these social events. And so that was a great kind of sense of community. It was also a small enough place that there weren't a lot of other gay groups. So it was like there was the campus group, and then there was a group called Dignity, which is primarily a Catholic organization. But in this town, in the college town I was in, they became non-denominational because there was just nothing else. It was kind of like the campus and Dignity. Mm-hmm. And so that were kind of the options for social scenes outside of the 1-2 bars that we had. And so that was actually really great to be able to just kind of hang out with people that just kind of accepted you for you. Mm-hmm. And then moving to New York, where there was, of course, lots of community, but still kind of being it was very much a small town. It was like you suddenly started meeting people that you already had all these connections with because of the circles you were running in. Uh-huh. And so, yeah. So, I mean, for me, it was like with soul support, I mean, like you, I'm lucky that both my parents, were like, oh, okay, moving on, next story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but it's kind of, I think it's intriguing, like you were talking about, like the Grand Camel, and
yeah.
I mean, here in Phoenix, we've always had a lot of bars. I mean, I've been posting stuff to the Facebook group. I have to go through and find ads, opening day of this bar, opening day of that bar. We had lots of bars coming and going. We've got a list, and I've been finding a lot more bars than even were on that list. So I think we're going to be getting close to like 200 bars since 1940 that have been here in the Valley.
Wow,
that's a lot.
That is.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm finding some bars I don't think were open very long.
Right.
I just found one bar that I've heard no one mention called Solid Gold. And so there seemed to be like a little row of bars over on McDowell. So
Solid Gold, that was a bar that came in People came in from California, opened up that bar. It was during the disco era.
Indeed, it was very disco.
It was hot. Okay, that was the place to be. So,
Wow.
oh my god.
See, and now it's like none of the bars here are dance bars. I mean, it's like you have Stacy's, which does have some dancing, and I guess also, but I mean, it was like I was used to bars that like dancing was like the main thing.
Right.
It's like you kind of stood around the dance floor and drank, whereas Charlie's, Stacy's are much more about just the schmooze as opposed to just dancing. So
yeah,
that's what's missing. It was gold. Solid Gold was a dance bar, and I mean, it was dance time. When you went there, you went to dance. Whether you got a chance to drink or not was another thing. You were there for the party.
that's epic.
Well, and then it was like, and then yeah, I mean, it was like there were a couple dancers that were talking about how there were dance competitions, and they were fierce competitions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Daryl Redleaf, who's now in California, was like, "Oh, I won that first dance contest at Taylor's."
Wow.
And they're like, "Oh, and here's a picture of me dancing on American Bandstand."
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, and some of these folks went on to be big time dancers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Phoenix. All right.
Yeah, I mean, my friend Todd, he was local dancer, actually wound up doing a lot of Vegas and cruise ships. And now is back here in Phoenix.
It's too bad that there aren't more dance clubs now that you bring that aspect up, because that is what I miss. I believe there's one bar still here, the only women's bar called.
Is that Boycott?
Boycott.
Boycott, yeah. And they still dance at Boycott.
Yeah.
The last time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But other
They
than
do.
However,
and that bar is famous because it's one of a handful of lesbian bars still here.
Yeah.
One.
I mean, it's in the country. I meant not just here, but
in the country.
Yeah, in the country, there's less than 25 lesbian bars.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're ever curious, there's a podcast of like millennial lesbians going on a road trip visiting all of them. It's called Cruising.
That sounds like
fun.
Yeah, they do like a cross country road trip, and they went to Boycott.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's one in San Francisco that they went to, Jolene's.
So that's not even one in every state.
Yeah.
And we can kind of imagine which states don't have any.
Yeah, we could probably guess.
Well, but then you also, I mean, but you also then have like a lot of bars which are not, I guess, which are, open to, I don't want to say open to everybody because they're all open to everybody, but it's like you've got the bachelorette parties happening and things like that.
Gracie's.
Yeah.
Gracie's is like, it's not a gay bar, but it's alternative.
Right. Exactly. So, and I think you have more of that going on. I mean, pretty much now lots of restaurants now have drag brunch going on.
Yeah.
All over the city.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think on almost any weekend, it's like there's at least 4 that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe that one of the reasons that the dance bars and dance clubs have gone by the wayside is because of rap music. There's no music to dance to anymore like it used to be. When you think about it, I don't know anyone who really dances to rap.
No, I don't think that's dance music.
Right. So,
but then you have bars that do like goth nights.
Mm-hmm.
Gracie's does like a queer goth event.
Mm-hmm.
They bring up a DJ out of Tucson to come up for that.
And then the Van Buren does those themed nights that are usually around like one artist. I went to Doja
Right.
Cat night there. And they had a Lady Gaga night that I didn't go to, but that was probably epic.
I'm sure there are lots of gay people there.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that was like pretty much their night at Van Buren.
Well, and you know, Bevan, I think there's also just more options. I mean, I was telling Jasmine I'm going to this event down at Biosphere, and I was on a call with some of the organizers, and it's like there's this whole kind of queer contingent of these
Really?
people talking about space, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Really?
So it's like, you know, like I said, there was like, it's a growing up where I did, there was only really two gay groups
Mhm.
that were organized outside of bars and things like that. But now there's so many more options. So, I mean, that's good and bad. I mean, there's not a concentration of folks. But then I've also heard people talking about how, so in a couple weeks, I'm doing Tiki Oasis, which is here in Arizona. This is the sixth one they've done. And I was talking to some folks, and there is a lavender luau, which is the LGBT group within Tiki Oasis. So it's like you have all these people dressing in loud Hawaiian shirts and muumuus and kaftans. Now it's like on Saturday afternoon, we're all going to get together and enjoy each other's company.
And this is a luau?
So it's 4 days of Polynesian appreciation.
Really?
So there's going to be music. So it is next Saturday afternoon. If you want to come, I mean, you can come hang out. Do you have a tiki shirt?
And now I have African.
You know, I think this group is a lot of fun.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh yes, I would definitely like to come. I'm going on a bike ride next Saturday morning, but I'll be done by early evening. When is this taking place?
I think it starts at 5:00.
Oh, perfect.
And it's at the Valley Home. And so they literally have booked the entire resort for Tiki Oasis. And so this is a subset. There's events going on all 4 days.
Wow. Okay.
And so, yeah. So it's a local booze distributor, Three Sheilas, that's sponsoring the event for it's three lesbians that run this distributor company. And so they're supplying then the beverages for Lavender Luau.
Send me info.
I will be happy to, because I will be there. It's going to be a crazy weekend, but it's going to be a fun weekend of all kinds of Polynesian music, local bands, DJs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely interested. Definitely.
And there's a market where you can buy all kinds of Hawaiiana. So. But just something we've talked about in the past is you were like, okay, well, if I go to Boycott, there's not many lesbians there, but then you'll go to a Suns game.
Yeah, a Mercury game.
Or a Mercury game.
Or a Mercury game, exactly.
Yeah, a Mercury game. I know. Yeah, I feel like, well, I also think I'm a little bit of an outlier where I don't gravitate towards going to a bar or a club. So even if I go, I mean, trust me, I'll have a good time if I'm going to a lesbian bar and it's chock full of lesbians and women. But I just like haven't really experienced that like 100% of the time. I did go to, when I was in San Diego, I went to Gossip Grill, and that I was like, oh, I didn't know this actually existed. Because, like, I go to Boycott and I don't know, it's kind of hit or miss, I would say.
Yes.
But going to a Mercury game, I'm like, where do I find you guys on a regular day? Because I want to be, this is who I want to like walk into the room and have it be filled with.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm also not the type of person who's going to be going out every night. So even if there was, you know, a bar that had that, I wouldn't want to be doing that every single day in order to get my fix of socializing with people that I relate to. But I
Well,
don't get me wrong. I mean, I love going to a Mercury game. That's like perfect for me. I'm literally wearing a WNBA merch right now. And then now that I'm in the Bay Area, there's actually a really oh my gosh, I was at that game. That's amazing. I have that shirt too.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So also in the Bay Area, it's really exciting. We are getting our own. We got our own women's soccer team, Bay Area Football Club.
wow.
Yeah, and it's like it just came into existence. So we are like coming in on the ground floor fans. So we're gonna start going to those games. But their stadium is in San Jose, so it's kind of far. But a women's sports has been like my preferred method of finding queer community, and like that's just like mine and my partner's like niche interest is just women's sports. And I would love for there to be more commonly like sports bars that play women's sports and stuff like that.
Well, and and even in terms of just the Valley history, it was like, I mean, we had Lynn on with Dot Wilkinson and out at the
Mm-hmm.
point talking about how
Mhm.
softball was the event. It was like if you were a lesbian here in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you were at those games because that's where everybody was.
Right.
So, like the Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
that same type of thing. So it's in a self-select group,
Yeah.
then goes to the bar, but this is kind of where they go to be social. And then I love the fact that you now have locally we have thems, which they do regular meetups. They'll do a coffee event. They've been doing fruity poetry readings. And then there's Maudie's, which is basically like lesbians and wine and beer, just kind of getting together and
That's
enjoying
so
each other.
cool.
So, I mean, I love that there's those things that are starting
Yeah.
up because
Yeah.
I think it's so important, especially after we spent so much time amongst ourselves, just sitting in our houses, looking at each other, now
Yeah.
getting in the world and being social again.
Yeah. But also like, because last episode when we were talking a lot about, you know, the intersection of queer culture and bar and club culture because it was out of necessity. And
Right.
now we're experiencing that that is not a need for survival. And while, you know, that's part of the community history, and that's why, you know, we have these drag shows at clubs, and it's always going to be a part of our history, but we can also start to have other, you know, public ways of connecting that aren't leaning on being in the club. You know, we don't have to go to the bar anymore. You know, we don't have to go be underground. And so it's amazing that we can start to be more creative about how we gather.
Well, and Jasmine, I'm going to put you on the spot to talk about something you have not been to.
Huh.
The artist, the ceramicist you were talking about, who has the outing group. They'll do like a dance party.
Mm. Yeah, I forget what they're calling it, but they did have just I know I forget what they're calling it, but yeah, they did have the queer field day.
Right. And I love that you have people doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to it, yeah, because it started right when I moved, but I've seen that they've done other stuff where they, you know, like go on a hike or they go just do it all seems to be like just outdoors. They do potluck, stuff like that, and I think that's so great. Like that's exactly what I'm always looking for, and I think it's super important to have that as an accessible place for everybody.
and then like out in Tempe, you've got Brickyard Coffee Brickyard,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is gay owned, and so they do a lot of LGBTQ programming.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to David at ASU about trying to do something there. So
Yeah, when I was working at the museum, we were trying to like start collaborating with them.
that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ACR Museum, and I love the fact that we've already got Mickey scheduled to be a guest. So that's going to be a lot of fun chatting with her.
Yeah, she's at the Venice Biennale right now. Did you see that on her Instagram?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Venice.
Yeah. So she'll be able to tell us all about it.
Wow.
She speaks Italian.
I didn't realize that. Lucky her. I mean, when I went, I was like, and talk about great eyewear shopping. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I bet.
That place is phenomenal.
Speaking of travel, I got my Chinese visa.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so when do you go?
I go in a month from tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long.
And I'll be there for a week.
Nice.
In Beijing.
Very nice. You speak
well, I look forward to comparing notes when you get back, especially about kind of gay China. I mean,
right.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it'll actually be a really interesting trip. I'm very excited because I have 3 siblings. I have 3 sisters and a brother, and this trip is going to be just me and my sisters. And that's never happened before. You know, like we've had so many with a bigger family, like we've had so many random combinations of like vacations or trips or visits because like we all live in different places. So maybe my dad will come visit with like one of my sisters. It's a fun thing. Like I love trying on different group dynamics of like, oh, when we all get together, we have a different dynamic than like if you were to add this one other person. So this will be like probably first and last time that it's just me and my sisters. Like our parents aren't going to be there. Our brother's not going to be there. And I'm really excited to have like just absolutely go wild with my sisters in China. And one of my sisters is living there right now. That's why we're going. And she has a guide, like through her work, she just has a guide that's with her all the time. So we'll be able to, you know.
Wow, that's going to be really
cool. Yeah, so we're really excited. We're going to put together our itinerary soon, and we'll also get to see the show that she's in, the musical. And we'll probably get to see it a couple times.
Very cool. That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be in Beijing. And my sister, like, she's traveling throughout China, so she actually hasn't been to Beijing yet.
Oh, so it'll be a new city for all of you.
Getting there the day after us. Like me and my sister are flying in, and we have a night just the 2 of us in Beijing, and then she'll be getting to Beijing the next day, and then we'll like all be exploring together. She hasn't been there yet.
Oh wow, cool! That should be lots of fun, lots and lots of fun.
Yeah, and we will. Knowing my sister, she will want to find the gay clubs. Like she will be on the hunt for like where can we go to go be queer.
So that's one thing I didn't get a chance to do. I was in Shanghai, but I will definitely be doing that next trip.
Yeah.
So checking out those and the queer clubs.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what we can find.
So you'll have to tell us all about it when you get back. We'll be ready to hear those stories.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be crazy. She gave us a warning of like, people will try to, take photos with you because just like they don't see a lot of foreigners. And I was like, I don't know if that's like, I believe you. Yeah, I'm sure that happens. But also my sister has dwarfism. So I'm like, is it because you're also a little person? So people want to take a photo with you? Like,
oh.
It's probably both. Like, whoa, an American that's 3'6".
Right. Right.
So June is coming up, and so that's Pride Month, and so I just learned that with local buzz, possibly the city of Phoenix, there is going to be a 602 day. So on June 2nd, the goal is to have different events, and we're going to be doing something over at the Phoenix Beer Co. over on Washington. And so I know we're going to do some trivia. And so in that, I'm going to throw in some gay trivia. We're going to basically be utilizing, I know we're collaborating with the Equality Chamber with Michelle, the new director there. So we're going to have that. And then I'm excited because on June 7th, then the Art Museum, we're doing an after hours event there.
Pam?
Yeah.
Oh my God, so fun.
So I've been plugging into kind of gay history of Arizona
for the trivia.
Yeah. And so we're going to do a bit there, as well as at the Art Museum. And then we're trying to put together a panel of artists to talk about kind of the creative community that's here. Kind of a mix of old, or experienced members of our community, as well as recent members of the community. And so that, again, kind of like there's this compare and contrast in terms of what's going on, what is there. Because that sense of community, I mean, I've been chatting with, there is a local newspaper that has just started that really called Outlook, that is really investigative news journalism. And so I've been throwing them articles. They've been looking at like the drug use in the community. And so I've been sending them, as I go through some of these periodicals from the 80s and 70s, sending them things. And so, but we've been chatting about how to build community. And so I just think it's interesting, especially right now, we're all trying to figure out how to be social, how to make that community connection.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's such an interesting topic at this point, because so Bev, what communities do you belong to, or do you seek out?
That's a good question. I pretty much have stuck a lot to myself and traveled a lot. Over the past, I'd say, prior to moving here, I was pretty much traveling with my job, but not necessarily the places out of the country. A lot of them were in the country and some outside. And after that particular phase, I more or less have been staying to myself a lot. And then COVID came along. So I came here in 2017 and I was teaching. I spent a lot of time teaching. And then COVID. And so now I'm just now getting back out and getting back active and getting involved with a lot of people. And so I don't really have an answer to that question, except that I am open to opportunities. Plus, I've had my relationships have been with women who don't live in the state of Arizona. And so I spent a lot of time with them, splitting up the time here and there. And so now that I'm single, single, I'm out there. So that's why I say you, Marsha, when you're so involved in community, I want to know about it because I want to get more involved in community.
Okay. Yeah, no, I am happy to share when I go to like a them something or like the 602 that we're doing. I mean, even tonight going down to Northlight for a gender and identity show. Went to it for First Friday. This week for Third Friday, they have an aerialist. And there's these photos of her doing aerial work, but she's using chains.
Whoa.
And the moment I saw those, I'm like, ow, that looks painful. And she actually talked about it a little bit. And she said she's an aerialist by trade and training, but she also likes to do it with the chains because it does cause pain. So she's going to do a small performance tonight as part of this exhibition. So I'm intrigued to see what that is.
Whoa.
So yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. And when you,
So, and it was also just interesting last night, just being in a crowd where I didn't know many people. I mean, there were all these, a lot of them were ASU students or staff that aren't part of like the Phoenix creative community, but are part of like the Tempe creative community. So the chance to just kind of meet some new folks, which was fun.
Well, actually, when I think back about it, also, I have been involved, focused more in the lesbian African American community, and we do trips to different areas. Like we do usually Labor Day weekend. We're out in California on the coast there, and we have a weekend in the mountains, just all women, all African American women. Not all, because we don't, someone who's not African American wants to go. Come on, let's go have fun.
Right.
So I spend a few times a year where I'll go to other parts of the country and hang out and do things like that. So I would love to start some things like that in the Phoenix area, or I should say Arizona, where we get groups of women together and we do things like we go camping, or have a weekend, just us hanging out, having fun.
Oh my gosh, you should.
I think so.
Or maybe start small and just say, hey, let's go out to dinner, or let's go hang out. I mean, kind of like what Jasmine was saying, like this one group was like, hey, we're going to go hang out in the park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say start small and then build.
And build up to it. That's how the one group that I belong to is over, oh gosh, Nia. There a few of them have started out of California. And so, and they have ongoing activities that we just, go to. So it would be nice to have some of that stuff in Arizona. And we go over to Palm Springs often.
Oh,
and
nice.
Different things going on in Palm Springs with them. So there's a few things, but they're not local here. We need them here.
Yeah.
So I should be the one to start them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, it's interesting. So I've done programs on Arizona queer history, like out in Sun City. And I was talking to some of those folks, and they're like, when I moved to Sun City, I thought I was the only gay. I didn't know anybody else in the community. And then there's multiple groups out there. And so they went to one meeting, and they walked in and there was like 15 people in a room. They're like, oh my gosh, look at this. And they had me speaking at one of where all the groups come together, and there are like over 100 people in the room.
Wow.
So here you have this person who basically was like, I'm the only one, to now having this community of 100 that they basically just kind of sat there, had lunch together, talked, and a variety of presentations going on. So yeah. So I would say just start organizing stuff, Bev.
Yeah.
Sounds like something to do.
Yeah, you might inspire me to do the same.
Yeah, just get together, social activities.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think is really great about like thems, mods as well, and the artists group that you were talking about that did like the field day. I think that's great. I mean, here you've got a variety of sports things. I know there's the softball league here. You've also there's like flag football, things like that. So there are a variety of other things going on. But yeah, just start your own little group and kind of just start adding folks to it.
Yeah, would also be nice to, after a Saturday Mercury game, just have a women's day at some location other than a bar.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea, because it gives those folks another place to go, because they watch the game, they're all energized and enthused, and it's like, well, now they get to go home and do what?
Take a nap.
Yeah. So it's like, maybe go out, hang out at Hance Park or something.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll look into doing that. As I said,
Bev, I am happy to help you. So
Right. There you go.
I have no qualms. So
We'll do something like that. That's great. Thank you.
yeah, no, I mean, I love kind of putting myself out there into new spaces and new folks.
And if we don't do it, who will?
Well, I mean, that is, and that's actually one of the things I learned in Phoenix was it's like, coming from New York where there are already all these things already started, but
Right.
then moving here and it's like pretty much, if you don't see it, start it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, just wound up talking to a journalist about she's been here a few months and looking at Roosevelt Row. She's like, I can't imagine Roosevelt Row looking any different. And I was like, oh, actually, it looks a lot different than it did 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Talking about how it basically was gentrified. I mean, it was the gays and the artists moving in.
Right.
Just like Soho, like so many other communities across the country. It's like our community, the artist community, those creatives move in, bring it up to a place, and then it's like, hey, everybody else wants to enjoy what we've built.
Yeah.
And then we get pushed out.
Do you see that happening to Melrose area?
I think with Melrose, there is enough old stock housing. There's new apartments, so it gives people options. I mean, I know rents have gone up a lot recently, but I mean, because Phoenix itself went from a very affordable city to very unaffordable quite quickly.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's like, but you can still find houses for rent, for sale. There's a variety of apartments along there, new and old apartments along Melrose as well. So,
what area I really, really like and see the Roosevelt area expanding down towards Grand Avenue?
Oh, exactly. I mean, and there you really have, I mean, I think in some ways they've done such a great job of managing the growth on Grand. And that really is Beatrice, who kind of is there with a strong fist and tries to make sure that nothing is built completely out of scale.
Okay.
Any new development is cognizant of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that it doesn't have that Roosevelt Row effect.
So Roosevelt Row effect.
So, and I wish they, I mean, it's interesting that I haven't really read much about it, but there's talk about a new apartment building going on Roosevelt that is the tallest building in the state.
Is that where they're talking about putting it?
I think that's where they're looking at putting it. I haven't read the articles yet. I haven't had a chance to, but
I don't like that kind of thing. I like the way it is with the different shops, the colors, the arts. That's what I was talking more about. Having over towards Grand Avenue, more of the artsy type stuff.
Right. So I mean, you've really got. I mean, over there you got Bacanora, Chilte, which are both restaurants that keep getting national recognition for their food.
Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, good luck getting a reservation at Bacanora.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Great area. I would love to buy some property over there.
You better hurry up.
Yeah, right. It's probably too late already.
So you may have missed that boat, but you never know.
Yeah, exactly. But Roosevelt area, Roosevelt Row, sort of brings a flavor of some parts of New York to Phoenix.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the conversation is like, it's like kind of what it's become. I mean, it went from almost like a warehouse district to, I mean, you had two bars that were kind of stalwarts of the gay community, Cruisin' Central and 307 within like a 3-minute walk of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are both gone now. It's now Cruising 7th, which is now on 7th Street. But when you could go back and forth, and then you had just that Fruit Loop where people would just walk around and find each other for a good time.
Yeah.
And so, and that was going on from the 40s through the 90s.
And now,
And so that was the original neighborhood.
neighborhood.
And so that's the newest term that I've been hearing. So Melrose is the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. I've been looking at some houses in that area.
Yeah, no, I mean there's some great little historic homes in that area.
I've been looking at some. I'd love to be in that area.
Yeah.
In fact, I often tell my neighbors here in this area, I'm moving and I'm moving to Melrose. I'm going into the center of Phoenix. They're like, oh, it's bad over here. I'm like, that's your opinion.
Right. It all depends on what you're looking for. So
yeah, I love that area. So anyway.
So indeed. Well, this has been great. I mean, I look forward to helping you plan a little outing, Bev.
Okay. I look forward to coming up with a theme. And
yeah, I'm excited.
So looking at that, so how would you let folks know, other than just like social media, how would you let people know that, hey, after a Mercury game, we're going to do this like after hours thing?
Well, we need a marketing arm, huh?
So yeah, so there's got to be some way, because I'm like,
word of mouth. Yeah.
Pass out flyers heading into the Mercury game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually that would, yeah.
But you can't pass them out inside, but you can pass them out outside.
Yeah, you could loiter.
Yeah, right. And well, social media, word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I think word of mouth is going to be the best way. I mean, and I think doing one, you'll get a small crowd, but then it'll grow.
It'll build, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
We start off in a small location and start moving to bigger and bigger and bigger. So we just started over one of the massive places there. A nice place to have it would be, that cute little, I shouldn't call it little because it's really big. And it has restaurants in it. It's right around the corner from the Mercury's, where the Mercury's play at.
Is it the oh my gosh,
they have the best, I love their food. They only have a few little food places in there, and then they have a big auditorium with steps that lead up to the stage. I cannot think of the name of that place. I was in it one time. I love this place, but that would be a place to have it.
The Churchill?
No, not the Churchill.
That's what I was thinking you were talking about, because I'm like,
Churchill would be a place. Churchill would be a place. And this place is south of the state of the arena. I think it's on 2nd Avenue, and would that be Adams or something, or Lincoln?
Like where Kaizen is, the Larry and Kaizen.
And it looks like it's in like an industrial area, kind of. I'll think of it.
I wonder maybe that is like or like ASU is, that's where the Herber School is.
Uh-huh.
Over on Grant.
South
on Grant.
No, south of the where the Mercury play, south of where they play, and south and west. I think it's around 2nd Avenue.
Huh.
That was.
I forget what Heather is calling that space now.
I will get the name of it. I am terrible with direction. My sense of direction is zero.
So I'm kind of wondering if it is there on Grant, because I mean, you've got a lot of warehouses that have been redone.
Yeah.
Then there's a new space. There's another one down there that I just heard about, that they tried to do all these things. They bought it during COVID, and so they're running a record label out of there and looking for things to happen. So
where is this?
It's a fairly new venue, kind of in that same area down the warehouse district. So it's an old brick warehouse. I have not even been yet. So
okay, interesting. We'll come up. We'll keep on thinking about it, talking about it, see what we can come up with, because that would be great. Mercury season's getting ready to start, and women do like a place to go, and to have something that's alcohol free. You don't, not free alcohol, but alcohol free.
Those are two different events.
If you say free alcohol, there'll be a lot of people there. But
There'd be a
alcohol,
lot of folks there.
yeah. So, and then it doesn't have to be alcohol free, but to start,
Right. I mean, I think the focus is supposed to be on the social connection.
right, exactly. Having
So,
fun after the game.
I wonder, my friend Andrea, who is a local writer, I wonder if we could rope her into this as well. I can always ask. I know she's in a master's program, so I can't speak for her time, but I'm willing to ask. The worst she could do is say no.
Mm-hmm.
But I know she is a diehard Mercury fan.
I know a couple of them too.
And so maybe we just get a few of those folks saying, hey, where should we go after? Let's try to put together and see if there's interest in saying, hey, let's do something after this fact.
And there's Reverend Charlotte, who's been with the Mercuries, I think, ever since their very first game. I could have Bridget, 42, Pettit's 42. She used to play for the Mercuries. I could have Bridget come down. And
nice.
I could even ask Bridget to share it with the Mercuries. Because when she goes to the game, she sits down with the Mercuries.
Oh, wow.
The team, yeah.
Oh,
in
fun.
fact, I was thinking about getting Bridget to come on and speak. And I should do that.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, no, she would be a great guest.
Bridget. Yes.
Yeah, so find out when she's available.
Yeah, Pettit's making a note.
Indeed, because we basically have less than a month to try and get as many folks as we can on before Jasmine heads off to China.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's not like I'm going forever. I'm only going to be out of town a full week.
We already have someone for the next meeting, right?
We do. I'm also trying to get David from ASU to come on and talk. So yeah, so we may have some other people popping up.
Okay. I'm sure Pettit's would love to do it. She has a nonprofit. She feeds the children. She teaches children basketball. She has a garden right here over off of Levine and around 19th Avenue. They have a gardening space, and she has a large plot there, and she has kids and people who have gardens. Yeah, she'd love the community pot.
All right.
So I will give her. Cool.
Yeah, get her in the loop, and we'll figure out when we can have her on as a guest. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, I think she travels out of town quite a bit, so I'll see what her schedule is like when she's going to be in Phoenix, and we want to get.
Well, the beauty of this is she can be on her phone in whatever city.
Oh, that's right. She doesn't have to be here.
She doesn't have to be here. I mean, as Jasmine is a good point.
Right. Okay, so what kind of projection for time are we looking at? I'll just throw some time out to it.
I would say find out when she's. I mean, I know in terms of when. So let's figure out when we're all available, and then we will. Because I know your schedule's going to be changing with school coming up, Jasmine.
Yeah, but that's not until the end of August.
Oh, okay. So we've got plenty of time then. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, we'll figure out a timeline, and we will go from there, and see if we can when we can get her on as a guest. That would be really fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I will take care of that tomorrow.
Very good. Wow, this is always so much fun, hanging out and chatting, and so
coming up with new ideas. We came up with some new ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look at that. We're going to try and put together a little thing for post-Mercury game.
Right. History into the future.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Totally.
And if they know some of the Mercuries are going to show up, be a full house.
Indeed. No, that would be great. So, yeah. We could even, depending on when we plan it, maybe even do one of these with Bridget before that, kind of talking about it as a little promo.
Right. And then put it up on Facebook.
Indeed. Yeah. Then make a little event for it and everything. So, aw. Hello, Putty Tat.
We have to trap him inside, and he's been trying. She was just walking out the door, and he's been trying to escape.
That is a big friggin' cat.
He just injured his leg. We don't know how he did it. So
Oh,
he usually is outside. See, he's all feral. He's not a house cat.
look how big the cat is.
Yeah, he's a large cat.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Miniature mountain lion. Shoot.
Yeah, he's a pretty big cat. He's like as tall as our dog.
And he eats a lot of food, right?
Yeah, and he is outside for most of his life. But he's going through a phase. He came home with like a snip in his ear.
He got in a fight.
And he came home another day with like a gash on his belly.
Oh.
And then he came home another day full limp. His ankle was had like a golf ball lump on it. And we have been giving him pain medicine.
And keeping him inside.
And keeping him inside until it heals, but he is acting like he's in jail. He wakes us up every hour throughout the night when we're asleep just to make us regret our decisions. Just to see if we'll change our minds. And yeah, we have to restrain him. Our dog has been helping. Like, I was trying to leave this morning, and then he tried to come and run out the door, and my dog went after him.
Oh, wow.
Everyone in the house gets
scared him
involved.
away from the door.
Nice.
They get along fine. They love each other, but I think my dog is like trying to also, I don't know, protect him. Like, no, you need to take care of yourself. You're gonna hurt your leg. So I don't know who he's been beefing with, but it's an ongoing feud. He's come home like 3 separate times with different injuries.
Wow.
He's in the middle of some turf wars.
Right.
All right. So I look forward to next time when we see you two.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see who the next guest is going to be. Kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Very good. All right. So let's put up that low. Actually, I'm going to bring up the music because I can.
Thank you all. It's been nice.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much, and see you next time.
All right.